everyone, welcome back to another fragrance review. I'm Perfumey. If you're new, please subscribe and stay tuned for more fragrance reviews. Today I have one from the house of Amouage, which is one of my favorite houses. I have a fragrance from the women's line that you don't hear much about, and that is Amouage Lyric Woman. Now, Amouage Lyric Woman is classified as an oriental floral on fragrantica, but I really think it's more of a chypre than an oriental. I think maybe a chypre oriental floral may suit the classification for this fragrance. You hear a lot about the men's offering for Lyric Man, and there's a lot of love in the community for that fragrance. And then there's some that think it smells too feminine and won't wear it. If you're not a fan of a clean rose, then you wouldn't like Lyric Man. Lyric Man is okay to me. It's not one of my favorite. I prefer some of the other offerings from the men's line, but Lyric Woman is just, to me, light years ahead of that fragrance. It's much more complex, it has a lot more going on, a lot more notes, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. I think if you like Lyric Man, that you should definitely try to sniff out Lyric Woman. I think you may be pleasantly surprised. So, anyway, I'm going to be doing a review on the Extrait de Parfum I have here. It comes in these little 50 ml bottles. Of course, they have a 100 ml version of the EDP or a 50 ml. And there's not really much different. I've tried the EDP. There's really not a lot of difference in the scent. I think that the Extrait is a little warmer and a little more rich. Kind of an, it's an amped up version of the EDP. But as far as the scent itself and the way it develops on your skin, it's really not a lot of difference. I think they're both great. And, you can probably find 100 ml of the EDP cheaper than the Extrait. I know it's pretty easy to find discounted. You could probably find on FragranceNet for around a couple $100, maybe a little less. If you can find an unboxed one, it's usually cheaper. But, yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think these little Amouage women's bottles are cute, especially the 50 ml. I don't know, it's just so tiny, and I think it looks really cool in the collection. But anyway, this is one of my favorite from the women's offerings for the House of Amouage, and I want to go ahead and try to jump right into this fragrance. I got notes off of Fragrantica, and I'm going to have to read them because there's no way that I could possibly memorize all of these notes. In the top you have bergamot, cardamom, cinnamon, and ginger. In the heart you have rose, angelica, jasmine, ylang-ylang, geranium, and orris root. And in the base you have oak moss, musk, wood notes, patchouli, vetiver, sandalwood, tonka bean, incense, and vanilla. To catch my breath after reading all of those. Yeah, so as you can see, there's really a lot going on in this fragrance, and I must say that some of those notes you can detect in this fragrance on their own, but a lot of these notes combine to create a unique smell that is greater than the individual parts. So anyway, I wore a little bit of this today, and I have it on dry down on this side, but I want to go ahead and try to just describe this scent for you, see if you can get an idea of what it smells like just from my descriptions. And this Extrait is very, very oily. I wouldn't spray it on your clothes, it may stain, and it certainly wouldn't come off until you wash it, maybe a couple of times. Pretty strong. So yeah, initially in the opening, it opens with a bright bergamot and a slight earthy accord, cardamom, and ginger for sure. You can get the ginger, and there's a little vanilla and incense smoke in there too, but the incense is not really prominent to me until you get to the base. You might get little swirls of like a smoky incense, and the vanilla is very subtle in the opening, and it becomes more prominent too as it dries down. And Surprisingly, it's not heavy on rose in the opening. You would think that this being a rose fragrance, that you would get a lot of rose. But not in the opening. I mean, it's present, but it's airy and it's dark, like a really really dark red rose. I think with the bergamot and those earthy notes and the ginger, especially with the cardamom, I think this comes off as maybe somewhat green in the opening. And the rose is there, but like I said, it's not prominent. If you look for it, you can find it. It's definitely not as green and citrusy and limey as the men's offering. Now, as this fragrance starts to dry and you get to the heart of the fragrance, what happens is the bergamot kind of starts to go away, and these other florals start to come in. And the other florals in this are ylang ylang, and I don't really know a lot about the note ylang ylang, but from Fragrantica described it as a buttery, rich note. I guess it may have a little greenness to it too. Maybe creamy. But I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, then this ylang ylang was what I'm really smelling. This is the dry down, the heart and the dry down are really where I love this fragrance. I'm not a big fan of citrus personally. I can tolerate citrus, especially depending on how it's used, but citrus dominant fragrances I'm really not a huge fan of. That's just my personal taste. But yeah, man, really as this starts to dry, what happens is it starts to get this like buttery vanilla, almost like a banana-like richness to it. And there's, the rose becomes more prominent, but it's dark and it's airy and it's just wispy in there. It's not something that stands out a lot, which surprised me, honestly. It's kind of hard to describe this part of the fragrance because the sum of the parts is the way that it mixes together is just so much more than the individual ingredients. I can't really pick out a lot of the individual ingredients. It just kind of comes together collectively as this smell. And I think the best way to describe that smell is, I've even used the word bubblegum, which, the more I get familiar with it, I can see other directions, and it could just be the difference between the extrait and the EDP. But I do get this bubblegummy vibe to it, and I think it's like a vanilla kind of bubblegum, almost like a vanilla cake batter in the extrait, but it still kind of stayed bubblegummy. And man, that's really nice. It's a unique smell. I haven't really smelled anything else like it, and I really like it. I think it's great. It just surrounds you in this like unique bubblegum smell. You can get incense in there too. The incense is smoky, but it's kind of it kind of comes in and out. It's not a very very, very prominent note in this. Yeah, and there's a touch of sweetness to it too, but I don't think that it's a sweet fragrance at all. But there is a little bit of sweetness to it, like really really vanilla cake batter or bubblegum are really the best things I can use to describe the mid of this fragrance. Now, it keeps getting creamier and creamier as it starts to dry down and really gets to the heart. And in the heart, it doesn't really change a whole lot from the mid to the base of the fragrance. And once you get to the base of the fragrance, you get more of that lightly smoked incense. It becomes more apparent, and it's mixed really nicely with the vanilla. It's a real rich, buttery vanilla. And it does kind of have a powdery vibe to it in like late mid to base. So if you're not into powdery fragrances, you may not like this fragrance. I used to not really be a fan of powdery fragrances until I tried Amouage Fate Woman, which I may get around to reviewing that one too. It has a lot going on in it too. I think between Amouage Fate Woman and Lyric Woman from the women's offerings, these are two of my favorite from the women's line, and I think they're better than some of the men's offerings. But also in the base with the vanilla, there's like a you get this subtle wood, like a dry wood. It's like a blonde wood. I don't really know what the wood is though, because fragrantica lists wood notes and it doesn't really disclose what the individual notes in the wood notes is. So, but yeah, that pretty much describes this fragrance. I love it. I think you should try it. I mean, if you like Lyric Man, you should definitely try this because, like I said, I think it's much more complex. It's a lot more going on, a lot more notes, and it just has more substance, more character to it than the men's offering. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the men's offering is nice. I like it. I don't dislike the men's fragrance, but to me, it's clean. It's like, to me, it's like just stepped out of the shower clean. It's green, it's limey, and it's rose. It doesn't really have a lot of development on me. It just kind of stays linear, and that smell stays on me. But it's not bad, but I think you should try the women's. Now, on this fragrance, I'm going to talk about the performance of the extrait, which, the EDP and extrait have similar performance, actually, in my experience. In the opening, projection and sillage are pretty big. I mean, it fills the room. It tames down a good bit on projection, but projection lasts on me for, I would say, probably about 3 hours. It's you're surrounded by a good bubble. I think people can smell you. Within an arm's distance. If you go somewhere, you're standing in line next to people. People that come into your little personal space, your little circle around you, your personal space will smell you, but it's not gonna get out and just offend people. It's not that kind of fragrance. I think it's just the right amount of projection. And sillage is the same. It leaves a nice scent trail. People, you can walk into a room, walk out of a room, and people will get a waft of you. Longevity is phenomenal. The extrait it's unbelievable. I mean, it's gonna last on you all day. At least it lasts on me all day. And from what I've read, reviews and things, and experiences that other people have with this fragrance, it lasts a long time on them too. If you plan on spraying your clothes, I don't recommend doing that if you go with the extrait. If you did happen to purchase this or sample this in extrait, I wouldn't recommend spraying it on your clothes just because it's so oily. I don't know, you can't really see it. I'm sure you can't see it on the camera, but it's very oily and it would probably stain your clothes. But this is gonna stay on you easily. 12 hours longer. After about 3 hours though, it comes a little closer. It stays close to you, and it's not projecting a lot. But if your body heats up, you move around, and stir up the air, you get a little bit of a stir up. And I really think you could wear this anywhere. I think you could wear it any time of the year. I think you could wear it any time of the day. I think you could wear it any place. I think it's pretty versatile, actually. If you're comfortable wearing this type of scent, then I think you could probably pull this off anytime. I would probably avoid, really hot, humid place where you're going to be in close quarters and kind of sweating, and you smell. It's real humid from all the evaporation from people breathing and stuff. But I wouldn't wear it somewhere like that. But to work or indoors, even outdoors, it would be. It's an elegant scent. I think you can wear it anywhere. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I really hope that you do get a chance to check out Lyric Woman, and if you do, let me know what you think. Thanks to my new subscribers, and see you around.